Hey everyone, Natissa here, and welcome to You Can Grow Too. This video is part number 2 of everything I'm growing this fall and winter season. There's a thunderstorm brewing overhead, my dog at my feet, so who knows what's gonna happen. But before we officially get started, I do want to say that, well, as this is part 2, this video is done in multiple parts. And the reason for that is based on this video here. It is what to grow in Florida fall. And of course, this video is for anybody, but I do live in the subtropics of Florida, zone 10. And my timing may be a little different, and I go by the temperatures in my area of when I grow these fall crops. So this might help you too. I also had done the part 1 of everything I'm planting this fall, which I will have these videos down at the bottom in the description so that way you can check them out. And also, I'll put the video of round number 1 for seed starting just in case you want to get into this a little bit more and see what I'm doing, see the things I encounter, and see how I solve my many issues I always seem to come across. But yes, this storm is really coming in, so let's get started. I didn't know what to put this category in, so this is just kind of a bit of randomness, but I do want to try artichokes. And this is something, it takes a while to get going according to the seed packet and a while just to grow. And fall and winter, as far as I understand, will be a better time for this. I don't even know if I fully like artichokes, but long story short, it's just, I don't know, watching other people grow it, I'm interested. Sometimes when you grow food in your garden, it just tastes better, and because of, you know, harvest to table right away, that can make a difference. So anyways, we're gonna try artichoke. Another plant that my husband and I have always wanted to grow, as strange as this may sound, but there's no picture, but tobacco. And you know, there's other ways to use tobacco. I know medicinally and maybe as a form of chop and drop, maybe even to repel pests. I mean, that's just been my general overall research, but there's different types of tobacco. I'm not entirely sure. Well, I didn't quite look into which one this is, but we just want to see what it's like growing. And I feel like fall, growing it through then into our spring, will be better for it. I mean, we'll see. This category for this season of fall, I have what I'm doing an experiment with the timing. Usually I grow, oh, there she be, my dog. Whatever happens, happens here. With eggplants and peppers, those crops I actually in the past would start them later in winter, but I'm going to try this time growing them in fall, starting them in fall, so they can grow through that time, even though it'll be very slow. But I saw last year a pepper plant reseeded itself at about this time, grew through the fall and winter, didn't look the best, I'll say, but it was right when spring came, it was the best producing, a very healthy looking plant, and it made me think about my timing. So this year it's an experiment with timing, but we're gonna grow for the eggplants. I'm going to do it again. It's actually growing in my garden right now, but it is, I think it's called Midnight Moon. It's a hybrid, and yes, I saved the seed from the hybrid. And you know, it's not an ideal thing to do, but I mean, I really want to try it. It did very well, and like I said, I have it growing out in my garden right now. All right, I gotta let her out. I'll be right back. All right. Most likely my dog is gonna grab her food toy or another toy, but the storm is coming, we gotta do this. So yes, the second generation hybrid, we're gonna try that again. And now my bird is tweeting. I have a couple birds in the house, so you're gonna hear them. This is real life happening here. But here we go, continuing on. I'm gonna do an early long purple eggplant. And this eggplant I've grown before. It seems to produce earlier. And well, it does say early, no wonder. So we're gonna try to get this going. And something that I wanted to work this year but just didn't come up, maybe because it was pelleted seed, I don't know. But we also have the Casper White eggplant. And I don't know, I like the purple and white eggplants better, I'm thinking, just because I can spot them on the plant easier. But I hope to get this going. Next category, still in my time testing category, I should say, is the peppers. Again, I want to try these in fall and have them grow through that time into spring. And first, don't have a picture of it here, but jalapenos. I want to do that better, so we'll see. And this, I cannot pronounce it. I'll put the name on the screen. I saved the seed from a pepper bought from the store. And my husband actually tried that pepper and said, oh, it tasted horrible. Compost it. So what did I do? I go save the seed and I'm going to try to grow it. Let's see how the taste is then. But I'll put the name down and that is what I'm going to try. So we'll see with this too. I tried this spring and summer. I just had trouble with a lot of things, honestly, this season that we're still in. It's still summertime. But the sweet chocolate pepper. And this one is said to be disease resistant and be extremely productive. And I did get one pepper off of it this year and it's just beautiful. So we're gonna try to give it a better go this time. And the one I keep trying, and it just keeps trying for me, and I really do believe in it, and is the Cubanelle pepper. So I'm hoping if I get it started, maybe this will have a better chance. And I've heard a lot of people sort of in my area starting their peppers and eggplants at this time. So that's why, I don't know, I feel better about trying it. I mean, I'd try it anyways after what I saw from that self-seeded pepper plant. But yeah, here we'll be doing that. Hopefully Cubanelles will do what I know it can do, or I'm sure it can do. Beans. Going with our bush beans first. Last year, we had a wonderful bush bean year, and I think a part of that may had to do with the no rain we were getting, which is funny because I'm practically sitting under a thunderstorm that is brewing. But we're going to give these a try again, and I planted them. It was like the first day of fall, so that's coming up. We're going to do some Blue Lake Bush. That's a good disease-resistant one, very productive, had good luck with that. I want to try the Big Kahuna. I try not to be a sucker when it comes to names of things, because you can really name anything. But I don't know, it does say it has bigger beans. I just thought it would be fun. We'll see. A couple of wax beans. I'm probably going to just empty out these packets, but we have the Cherokee wax and Golden wax. And yeah, we'll just get those ones in the ground. I like different colored bush beans, it's fun. And speaking of that, I also have purple bush beans. And this one's about to run out, is the Royal Burgundy. And then this one says Royalty Purple Pod. I don't know if it's the same or not. And it's good to grow different varieties of things, not just for fun, but when you have different varieties, some are more resistant to other things or can handle certain conditions. So I like to have many different varieties because any season can bring along whatever. And one year something might work well, the next year it might not. But the other thing that didn't work well last year might work well the next. So who knows? Oh, last but not least, this was a surprise to me, the Dragon Tongue bush bean. Oh, last year this was the first and last to produce for me, and I was very shocked because it doesn't say anything about disease resistance. Again, we weren't getting much rain, so, you know, water on your bean plants is generally not a good thing when it comes to these more common type of bush beans and green beans. But yes, and so beautiful. Oh, I could go on, but we have so much to go over right here. But being that the bush beans did so well last year, I am going to try pole beans again and give them a better chance, or what I think I'm going to be giving them a better chance with. And we're going to try this. I cannot pronounce it, but it is a pole purple bean, and we'll see. Don't have a picture here, but rattlesnake. Rattlesnake pole beans are always said to be good in the south and better with heat and humidity. And with our fall and winter time, like I said, subtropics of Florida, and where I live, we generally don't freeze. And there are times in our winter where we're still in like the 80s, you know, sometimes. So yeah, we'll give those a go. And something I have never tried before, and you know, I've always heard it said, oh, it's good in the heat. But is it good in Florida heat? Probably not. But our fall and winter mimics the temperate climates, summertime. So I'm wondering if I will be able to grow runner beans well here in our fall and winter. Of course, I plan to grow them where it gets the most sun because remember, we lose our sun in this time of year. But we'll see. I'm excited to try that. And I don't know if I'll have room for these 2 full beans, but I'm going to try. And that is the Marvel of Venice, a nice large flat potted, I guess you could say, yellow bean. And the good old Kentucky Wonder. So we'll see. Next category. I call these big brassicas. Brassicas is like a family of plants, a species. I don't know the scientific terms with that, but either way, these all are kind of related to one another, and these are the larger varieties. And last year I planted them at this time with my indoor growing light system. It was the first time ever, and it was really the first time we had good success with some of these. So I'm feeling very confident and hopeful, and that is cabbages. I have my purple red acre cabbage here. Oh, such a success last year. And I'm going to try early golden acre. And that, from my understanding, is a really common one. So we'll see which will grow better for me, the green or the purple. And broccolis. I am going to try a early purple variety. I heard Jacques in the garden, I like to watch him, and he said that this was a very productive broccoli for him. And of course he grows a lot of plants, and I'm probably only going to have room for a couple, so we'll see. And also being purple, the florets that you eat, they might be easier to spot for harvesting. And a new broccoli to me. I cannot pronounce it. There's no real picture of it on here. And I will put the name of it. But anyhow, it is more of a broccolini. That means it's not really known for a large head of broccoli, but more of the broccoli shoots. But this was developed, and I believe it's an heirloom. I believe I read it's an heirloom. But it was developed in an area, I guess the name is the city in South America somewhere that's near a tropical climate. Don't quote me, but it's something like that. And it's supposed to do better in hotter climates. And like I said, our winter here is not, it doesn't hardly get really cold. So I'm interested to see how this will do. Oh my gosh, very risky, but actually this was an accident in me getting these seeds. And with my confidence of these big brassicas from last year, I am going to try the Romanesco, and I just really want to see if I can get this growing successfully. And another big risk for me, I actually did grow it, like one of my first years of gardening, planted the seeds in ground late October, and it actually grew pretty well, and I think I actually saw part of the Brussels sprouts that were coming out of it, but we were getting into our spring, and the pests were getting at it, so it didn't quite work out. But like I said, no picture here though, but Brussels sprouts, these take a while to get going, so if I get them started now, I might have a chance. One of my favorites, I probably can even plant this later, but it's something I'm trying to succession sow. And by the way, in my part 1 of everything that I'm growing for the fall and winter season, I forgot to mention, I do go over my goals in that video, my garden goals for this season. And, well, succession sowing is one of them. So I'm going to try to get the kohlrabi going this year a little earlier. And this is a giant kohlrabi, and I could go on and on about this, but we got to keep moving. It's coming, it's coming. Flowers. And this is new to me, and I'm very excited to try it. It is called rock soapwort. And there's a type of tree that I believe I can grow here that gives what is called, I believe, like soap berries. And what you do is you take what look like berries, and I guess you can wash your clothes with it, and it can lather up the water and help clean your clothes. Anyhow, I don't know if I can commit more trees on the property just yet, but if I'm not incorrect about this, I believe I read somewhere with this that you can take I guess the leaves and the roots and boil them up, and it's supposed to, it has something in it like soap does to help clean your clothes. I just want to try and see, because that would be kind of cool, especially if it grows well here, so we'll see. Another flower, marigolds. My goodness, the Francis Choice French marigold. Last year, this was some of my most beautiful spots in the garden. Marigolds are just such a common thing that everyone talks about, everyone grows, but you know what? That's fine by me. It doesn't have to be so crazy and interesting because it is beautiful. And with a French marigold, they do say that there's a more type of chemical in it that can help keep away nematodes, which I'm pretty darn sure I have in the garden. I have such sandy soil here. And I know sometimes to get the best results, I've heard that you need to till it in the ground, the plant and everything. But I'm just hoping that as it's growing, will there be some of that chemical in there to help keep the nematodes away? I don't know. But bottom line, marigolds are just beautiful. So we're going to be growing that. Oh, one of my favorite flowers. Oh, the Coreopsis. I had this growing, I mean, it was growing actually all throughout fall. You didn't know it because it was just the plant, but it didn't start producing its flowers until about late winter, early spring. And oh, I don't know why, just one of my favorites. And what was interesting was it self-seeded in the garden. I'm pretty sure it was from this particular plant. And I had a flower come up that was a Coreopsis, but instead of being this same exact looking one, if you can see the center, I don't know if you can tell, but it's like a maroon. The flowers that came up from this were just maroon. So I'm wondering if this is a hybrid and it was going back to its parent plants. I don't know, but oh, I want this to come up again for this year. And two of my other favorites, or one of my favorites, Cosmos. I have two Cosmos here. The famous, I get, well, it says Crest Mixed Colors, but I'm assuming it's the Bright Lights that is a common variety. Said to have yellows, oranges, and reds. And oh my goodness, Picote, I think it's pronounced. Oh my goodness, I'm doing these. We're getting there, we're getting there. The winds are starting to pick up, and I live in like the lightning capital of the world, so I don't even want to sit in here when that happens. But we are at our greens. I'm growing a ton of greens every fall and winter, and like I said, I'm doing these in parts. And in these videos I'm doing in parts, it is representing about when, that I'm planting these. So everything you're seeing today, some of these have already been planted in their cell starts, and some of these will be planted in the next week or so. So keep that in mind. This is definitely, this hopefully gives you a hint if you're in a similar climate as me about when. Not that I can tell you when to plant these and guarantee it, but sometimes when we are following someone from a very similar climate or has very similar factors in it, we can kind of glean the information and kind of work it in a way that will help us, or I should say help you, be able to grow too. So that's why, like I said, done in many parts, but I have way more greens than these, but I'm planting them for later. But what I will be planting very soon is, very unusual, but a plantain. And this is not a plantain like a banana plantain. This is a type of weed, or what you might consider a weed, that would be growing in your yards. I've seen this actually growing in our local parks, and it's supposed to be edible. And I need to look more into it. But what I do know is I did start this in spring. It did grow up from seed pretty good, but getting it outside, it was way too hot for it. And it was late April, I was at a local plant festival, and they had a very large plantain plant growing. In fact, I overheard someone comment on how big it was, and I knew that whoever grew it, they did not grow it at the time I did. They had to have grown it probably about now to grow it into the spring. So we're gonna try. One of my favorites is salad burnet. Oh my goodness, we love our salads here. And this is what I call an accent green. It's not like the main green of a salad, but the taste and the scent of it is like, to me, what I would call a sweet cucumber. And I really enjoy cucumbers. And just the leaf pattern, to have that sprinkled in your salad, ooh, hopefully you can see that. It's just nice. And like I said, tastes great too. I planted this before. I'm going to try to utilize it in my meals better because I've heard it's super duper nutritious. And that is cress. Now, and I believe this would be like a watercress. And yeah, you got to keep the moisture level really high on these plants as far as I know. So we're going to give it a try again. Now, these two greens I'm holding in my hand, I usually plant them, like I direct seed it in my garden. And this year I'm going to try to get them started in plant starts. So that way, when I do get them out in my garden, instead of being a seed, it will be a seedling or just a small plant. And that is my beloved Chinese cabbage. I have a Hilton Chinese cabbage here, and a 1 kilo slow bolt. So different varieties. I don't know how much I'm going to be comparing the two. I mean, we'll see. But the point being, I just love Chinese cabbage. And like I said, one of my goals is to succession sow. So I'm wondering if I get these started sooner, will I be able to plant more at some point in the season and get more? We'll see. For our herbs, I'm planting way more. And I was thinking just before I started this video that maybe I'll start some parsley as well in starts this month. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But I do plan on at least starting sage in seed starting pots because if I remember correctly, this took a while to come up. And when a seed takes a while, generally speaking, I like to start them in seed starting containers just to keep an eye on them, just to watch them and not forget about them. So we'll be doing this and maybe parsley in seed starting trays. Speaking of seed starting trays and testing my timing, I usually plant beets in ground. And this year, I'm going to try earlier in seed starting trays because I've seen people plant beets that way. Generally, it's always said, and there's truth to it, to direct sow seeds that are root crops, just because when you're taking the plant out, you're disrupting the root system, which the root system in this case is what you're eating. So I do understand. But again, I want to test the timing. Can I have beets earlier and plant more later? Let's see. I have a lot of beets here. I'm hoping to give them all a shot. But Tall Top Early Wonder, Ruby Queen, Detroit Red. I can't pronounce this one, but I call it Candy Cane Beet. And one that I didn't get really to bulb up, but I'm still trying to work on how to get my beets to bulb up. But the greens, or I should say the leaves, are really, really dark maroon and are great in salads. So whatever happens, happens. But I'm going to try the bull's blood beets. And they are pelleted seeds, so I always feel iffy about that. But I'm still going to do it. Golden beets. I did do that last year. I did get one beet, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoy beets anyways. And the albino beets. Actually, I do have one more beet, and I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about all the beets, but with the kohlrabi, I didn't fully go into it, but with the large kohlrabi that I grow, a big reason why I do that is because in leaving it in the ground, in the garden, I've noticed so far in the past couple of years of growing it that it doesn't get woody or too much of a bad taste or texture as I leave it in the garden, whereas I've had the early, I don't remember, the early white kohlrabis. It's very popular. I've had those in the garden and had like half of them get woody and all that. So anyways, with leaving that kohlrabi in the ground, it helps extend my harvest. And yeah, that is my must grow. And I do grow the purple ones. I'll talk about that later. But this beet, the Lutz or Lutz green leaf winter keeper beet, it is said that you can leave this in the ground as well longer and the texture won't be off or the taste, or it shouldn't get woody. And I know I live in the subtropics. Everything is just so different here with a lot of these common vegetables that we're familiar with. But I'm hoping that this could do for me as that large kohlrabi. So we'll see. I'm very curious about this one. Two more root crops. I do grow rutabagas, and again, I direct sow those in the garden generally. But I mentioned last year how I want to try them in seed starts, because last year in a video, you know what? I'm going to put this video up here. One of my favorite videos. It is Quick and Easy Free Plants. It is a short video, and it makes up a lot of my fall and winter garden, this technique. And it's just what I call it, that technique, free plants. But anyhow, in that video, I talked about, well, can you take, a rutabaga seedling out of the ground and move it elsewhere to have it grow? And I mentioned how root crops is not an ideal thing to do, as I've told you, but I do it every year, and it has worked well for me in my experience the last 2 years I've done it. So anyhow, I mentioned at some point in another video that I want to try these in plant starts. So I'm going to do what is a really good tasting rutabaga, is the Navone Yellow. I've tried this one side by side with a purple rutabaga. That's very common. And rutabagas taste really good, but the thing with a lot of these root crops, actually a lot of these like leafy greens, just everything that pretty much grows in the fall and winter time, it matters about your temperatures. And like I said, we still get kind of hot here, so I've never tasted a, what they say, frost-kissed, plant, because we don't really freeze here. We don't really get a frost, so I have never tasted any of these at their best possible form. But anyways, what I'm trying to get at is I tasted them side by side with a purple rutabaga, and there was something different about this taste that, it was really different. I was actually kind of surprised. So this year I'm actually most likely just gonna grow this yellow one. Again, want to try these in plant starts to see if I can succession sow them. So we're gonna find out. Last but not least, another root crop. I've never grown it before, and I am gonna start it in plant starts again for the sake of, well, two reasons. Is number one, according to the seed packet, it's going to take longer for it to germinate, and I've never grown it, like I said, so a lot of the times I do like to keep an eye on something I've never grown before. And of course I am going to plant it outside once it gets to be a hardy seedling. But it is parsnips, and I think I've only had parsnips once in my life, and I remember thinking they tasted good, so I do want to try it for fun. So we will see. We flew through that pretty quick, and the storm is just about to roll in. So before I go, I just want to remind you to check down the links below in the description so that way you can get caught up on anything you've seen here. And don't forget to check this video. It is part 1 of everything I'm growing this fall and winter, so that way, like I said, get caught up. There's more coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And we just made it. The rains are coming in, and I'm sure not too long after our lightning and thunder. And we are at the end of summer, and still a very beautiful, yet weedy, but beautiful garden.